Hi everyone, it's Katie and welcome back to another episode of Therapeutic Tarot. This is an intermittent series that I do on the channel, which is all about how I use tarot for mental well-being. And if you haven't watched the introductory video to this series, I'll leave it below. Please do, because I think it's really important that you have watched that before you continue. But basically this video is all about a little spread that I use that's based on some stuff that I learned in DBT. So basically I'm just going to share with you a very little spread. It's only 4 cards, the positions for which were inspired by the Interpersonal Effectiveness segment of DBT. And basically that segment is all about relationships and how we interact with the people in our lives, and how we can make them as healthy and productive as possible, how we can hopefully get what we need from the people in our lives, but also make sure that we're respectful and that boundaries are respected, all that good stuff. I'm not going to go too much into that because this spread, although inspired by that segment and some of the stuff that's talked about in that segment, I think is useful for all different types of work. I don't think it's limited to interpersonal effectiveness. So this isn't going to be a long video. I'll take you down to my altar and I'll show you the spread. So this is a really simple spread. As I said, it's only got 4 positions and we're going to be using the Katey Tarot as our example. This is just such a wonderful deck and I think it's become my favorite, my go-to for this type of work, this therapeutic tarot stuff. Now, the context of this spread, as I said, was the interpersonal effectiveness, and these spread positions were really designed to encourage you to think through a difficult situation internally before you go and confront someone with something that's making you unhappy or something that you're finding difficult. But as I said, these spreads and this spread and these positions I think can be used for anything all the time. But that is the context, and I think it is really good for that use as well. So let's have a shuffle and take a look at our positions. So we have the moon in the first position, and this is I think. Our second position, we have the 8 of Cups. This position is I feel. And we have the 4 of Cups for the third position, which is I want. And for the last position, I often like to draw an oracle card. Just going to move everything up so we can fit it all. So we have sensuality from the Awakened Soul Oracle in the position for self-care. And that's it for you, so you can see the whole card, which is very pretty. So let's have a chat about the positions. Okay, so as I said, this first position, the moon, is I think. So this is to take a look at what it is that's going on in your head in regards to the situation. And the reason that we have a card for think and feel is because a big part of DBT and a lot of different therapies is learning how to separate the two. Because quite often we can really get caught in thinking that they're the same thing, or feeling that they're the same thing and they're not. So for the I think position and the moon card, it could be that, you know, we're really confused and that our thoughts aren't clear or certain, or perhaps we are struggling to distinguish between our thoughts and feelings. We're just really not sure what to think of the situation perhaps. The second card, which is this one here, is the I feel card, and we have the 8 of Cups. So this I think is pretty clear. Perhaps we're feeling betrayed, or we're feeling loss or grief, or we're upset, basically, is a pretty obvious example. So this one we're having a look at what our core feeling is in relation to the situation. And it's really important to be aware of our feelings, especially the core feeling that's kind of driving us, or the motivating emotion in the situation. Because if we're not aware of it, or we think we're above our emotions, that's when they can manifest in really, you know, not productive ways. So being aware of where you're coming from in terms of your emotions, especially given that this is an interpersonal spread, this is where this spread comes from, it's really important to be aware of what our feeling is, our driving emotion is, so that we can communicate effectively with the person we're trying to talk to. Our next card is I want. So here we're starting to look at your motivations, or what it is, what outcome you're looking for, what it is that you're seeking in this situation. So for example, with the interpersonal effectiveness stuff, if you're going to confront someone or talk to someone, what is it that you're wanting from them or from the situation? What sort of resolution or solution or result are you looking for? And this could mean so many different things. This card could mean so many different things. Depending on your situation, you'll draw different aspects of the card out, and because we're not working with a specific example as such. It's a little bit difficult to pinpoint what this card is saying, but it could be saying something like, you know, you want to be left alone. And then the final and perhaps most important is the fourth card, and we've used the Awakened Soul Oracle by Ethany and drawn the Sensuality card. This position is self-care. So when we're doing something difficult like confronting someone that we love or someone in our lives that has authority, for example, it's really important to kind of buffer that difficult experience with some self-care. So that is why this card is so important and is in this spread, because it's not an easy thing to do or deal with. So for example, with sensuality, it might be about dancing. It could be that obvious. It could just be doing something that you love, or it could be getting dressed up. It could be putting some makeup on. It could be having sex or masturbating. Whatever it is that you like to do to indulge in your senses, food, walking, I don't know, anything that, you know, gives you that feeling. That's what you need to be doing to take care of yourself right now. So as I said, it's a really simple spread, only 4 positions, but I think it's really versatile. I really like using this spread, and I certainly, when I first kind of put it together, I did use it for that, oh, I have to confront someone about this. I need a bit of clarity. I need to think through it before I go and confront them. I did use that spread for this, but because it's so versatile, because the positions are so open, I think I've used it for lots of other situations as well, and I would encourage you to play around with it and see what you can get out of it too. I know it's simple. All of this stuff that I share with you in these videos is simple, but I think it's important for it to be simple, because that makes it accessible, you know, even if we are struggling emotionally or mentally. So I'll create a little picture and blog post and stuff kind of explaining all the spread positions, so you can kind of reflect on them a little bit more easily rather than having to watch the video again. So I'll leave a link to that in the description box below if you're interested. So as with most of the stuff we've spoken about in this series, you can either shuffle the cards and draw blindly, or you can draw the cards consciously. Both ways offer their own types of insights. Both ways can be helpful. So do whatever works for you. Experiment, play with the spreads and the positions. All of that is fine. You need to make this stuff work for you. I'm just sharing what has worked for me. As far as what decks I like to use, I think the Katey is a really great one. I think I've mentioned it in another video in this series. I think the Katey is just so good for this sort of stuff because it's so picture storybook imagery. What's going on in the cards is so clear. They're very evocative and emotive and real. I think that's why the Katey works so well, and that I certainly have found really good for this type of exercise. But it is certainly an exercise that would work with anything. As always, whatever you think will work well probably will, and I think it's one that really does lend itself to oracle decks as well. I have found for myself though that the super symbolic occulty decks sometimes aren't as helpful, just because I feel like often their messages can get really deep and, you know, over here when you just want to be right here. That's not always the case, but you know, that's something to consider at least. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some of this a little bit helpful, and if you have any comments or questions, as always, feel free to leave those below. I'll do my best to get back to you, and until next time guys, so much love. Bye.